Thanks.
Okay. And I see Chip. Good morning.
Good morning.
We look very good on a quorum. Meeting's called to order. Just a note on the agenda, and apologies to folks who are here specifically to participate. Somebody got to turn their mute on, please, whoever is talking. If you're not speaking right now, could you kindly mute? That worked. Not. People are here to
DeForest needs to mute.
Hold on.
I don't know if that's working or not, but let's go on and with the meeting. I reckon there's some people here who wanted to participate today, specifically in public discussion of the Depot District. That's not happening today for a bunch of reasons. We moved that to the 25th. So there's no public hearing on Depot, and we're just going to proceed with the regular order of business. Thank you on that. First item is commission will review the draft minutes from the meeting of February 25th. Commissioners, other folks, did you have an opportunity to review those minutes? Would you like Rebecca to put that up on the screen? Just speak out.
It would be helpful to have that up on the screen.
I agree. Rebecca, are you comfortable putting your minutes up on the screen?
Yes. Give me a moment.
Thank you.
Bear with me. I have a couple too many things open.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. So take your time, everybody, and we'll give you a chance to read and then move on page by page. Okay, everybody have a chance. Can we move on?
Is everyone good on the minutes? Do you need me to go back or
I'm good.
can I stop sharing?
Just one question about the minutes.
Yeah.
On the 9 Rossman, I know we resolved the door the way it was described in the minutes, but did we also make the 2/1 on the second floor windows a contingency, or was that just a recommendation?
Miranda, I believe it was a recommendation. The contingency that is noted in the minutes in terms of the door has been addressed.
Yeah.
The
that's fine. I just was
applicant
wondering about the windows.
sent that forward. What we did not make a contingency because it was agreed to in the meeting by the applicant was cladding on the windows. As I recollect, basically all of the windows were essentially going to be replaced with wood windows.
Yeah, we had talked about doing 2/1 on the second floor to match the existing windows.
Okay, I have a revised doc. The applicant had sent it to code enforcement while Craig was away, and he and I touched base on it a bit, but I asked the applicant to send me the doc last night, which I did get. I made note for sure that there was a very clear drawing of the conversion of the window to a door. That's in. I made note of the fact that the applicant had not totally successfully deleted the word clad, which I'm going to address with them. And I'll follow up on the 2/1, Miranda, but that may be in the revised application as well.
Okay.
Basically, we're going to fix it.
I
And
think we
certainly,
were open to it, but I think it's just a question, and we can say it's a recommendation, not a requirement, but I just think it ought to be.
that's my
It
recollection as
makes a
well. But
difference.
I'll confirm all that back with the commission. In terms of the public hearing, folks were mostly focused on the, excuse me, or we were as well on the window door, and that's been done.
That's fine.
Clad is done. That's coming off. These are wood windows. And I'm proposing I treat the 2/1 in all cases as a recommendation, but follow up with the applicant. I'll get a correct
It was
doc.
particularly on the second floor, Phil, because.
Understood.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thanks, Miranda. Fair point.
Hello.
Phil,
Yeah.
Phil, this is Craig. Just to follow up, I did not receive anything from them regarding this. So if they
Okay.
you can send it to me just for the record.
I can resend it because I'm here.
Oh, Katie, you're there.
We do agree to the non-clad.
Yep.
And if there was a straggler comment in there, it was an error. And the 2/1 we've put into our documents, and the clients are perfectly happy with doing that too.
Great.
Terrific. So I think all bases are covered, and Katie and I might make sure you have the correct document, Craig. It's actually a revision to the entire pack, so we can toss the previous pack and start with the corrected one. Katie, you good sending?
Yes, I will send.
Terrific. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone, Rebecca here. So Miranda, I just want to make sure, do you have a specific amendment to the minutes? Do you think I should add a line in there about that, or?
I would just say it was recommended that the windows on the second floor be 2/1.
Okay, great.
Okay. With that, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended? Thank you. Miranda, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? No, the minutes are approved as amended. Thanks so much, Rebecca. We have 3 C of A votes today. 226 Union Street, 323 Union Street, and 9 Rossman, which we've just been discussing. Thanks very much. This is the actual certificate to be signed and stamped once we vote on it for 226 Union. If there are no comments, may I have a motion to approve 226 Union C of A as prepared by the city attorney?
I'll make that motion.
Thanks very much, Jeremy. And a second, please,
I'll
Paul.
second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None approved. 323 Union Street.
Motion to approve?
I second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Approved. Thank you. 9 Rossman, with the contingencies that we've discussed, a correct document either will go or has gone to code enforcement. Motion?
Make the motion.
I'll
Thank you
second
very
it.
much, Paul. Second, all in favor?
Wait, hold on. Wait, I just want to hold you up on this one. I want to make sure that it's drafted properly, given the discussion.
Got
So
it.
I have 2 contingencies. Windows will be wooden and location of the primary door shall not be moved, and applicant shall return with plans for secondary access door. Are we taking out the part about returning because they've submitted those plans? Or does the board still need to review that? What the door will be and,
I'm satisfied that that is done and very clear in the drawings, Victoria.
What
okay.
if you just say they will submit plans, which they've already done?
Miranda, would it be possible for you to increase your volume, or I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Sorry. Is that better?
Not really. I always look forward to hearing what you have to say, and it's a little difficult.
Oh, thank you, Chip. I'm sorry. I'll try to speak up.
All right.
My
Uh,
volume up all the way.
Yeah.
Victoria, did you make the changes you needed?
I made a change here. Applicant shall submit plans for secondary access door to the code enforcement officer.
Cool. May I have a motion to approve the C of A? Anyone I can't see?
I'll make that
Hugh
motion.
And Jeremy, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. It's approved.
Thank you.
I want to read the C of A applications. From time to time, we've missed somebody. Obviously, Craig, weigh in, please, if I miss something, but also anybody who feels they submitted in a timely basis to Craig, and it should have gotten to me. I have 531 Warren Street, 522 Union Street, 109 Union Street, 30 Union Street, 529 Warren Street, 702-704 Columbia Street, 430 Union Street, 354-356 Union Street, and 441 Warren Street. Is there anyone who feels they had their application in and I missed? Okay, let's move on. Thank you very much. First application up is 531 Warren Street for a sign. Who speaks for 531?
Robert Houston,
Hey, Robert, good morning.
how are you doing?
Okay, I don't know if you're familiar, you probably are familiar with the drill. We need to take a look at your sign.
Yes.
Can you share your
Uh,
screen?
Do you have copies, the copies that we made for the team there?
We're kind of virtual. It's hard to hand stuff out. But
Okay.
if you can share your screen, then, or I'll ask somebody to help us with that.
Can you guys see me now?
I'll pull it up.
Does that help?
Victoria's got it for you, Robert.
Okay.
So you
So
can
just
present
tell
it.
us a bit about what you're doing.
So I was the owner of White Rice for about 16 years, and we never had a hanging sign in front of White Rice, but we feel like with the new store, Riverbend Mercantile, we are noticing that some millennials head down the sidewalks with their faces buried in their phones. They don't necessarily look right, so we need to have a hanging sign that catches them when they glance up. So hence our application for a hanging sign.
Okay.
I got a quick question, Rudy.
Yep.
And I kind of skipped over this when I reviewed it because I didn't see the front of the building. Is the wall sign still there or are you removing that?
The wall sign for White Rice was painted over this summer, so there is nothing on the face of the building.
Okay, that was the sign code only allows you to have one sign. That's why I was just making sure.
Right,
Okay.
right. Yep.
I'd love to move forward. We got a pretty huge agenda this morning. May I have a motion to find the application complete?
Motion.
Thank you very much. That was Hugh. And a second, please. That's Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Motion to, I don't think we need to even talk about waiving a public hearing, but a motion to request city attorney to prepare a C of A.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much. I didn't hear who, we'll call it Jeremy and Hugh for the time being.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Application is approved. To the applicant, stay in touch with Craig. Make sure you finish up any business with him, but
Great.
you're, okay.
Appreciate all your help,
About-
folks.
Takes about 2 weeks, by the way. We will actually vote on the actual C of A in about 2 weeks.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. 522 Union Street. Who speaks for 522 Union? Anyone at all who's either owner or applicant for 522 Union? Otherwise, we're going to move on. 109 Union Street.
Howdy, that's me.
Daryl?
That's me.
Oh, terrific. Good for you. Good morning.
My first Zoom call, so you got to bear with me.
You've done great so far.
Thanks.
Daryl, are you able to share your screen so we can talk about the application with a visual?
I will try.
Okay, if not, somebody will help you.
Uh,
I have it.
It looks
she's-
like it's up.
oh, she's awesome. Thank you.
She's awesome. Okay, slow down a little bit. Why don't you start, any way you want to do it, just talk about your project off the photographs or whatever we're looking at, and we'll get through it.
All right, this house here on Union Street is the only one that doesn't have a cedar clapboard. It has a tiled front finish, and we'd like to remove that. The rest of the house is all clapboard, as you can see, which we need to replace the damaged stuff on that one corner that's yellow. But we'd like to make the entire house a 1/2x6 clapboard to match the house left and right of it.
Are you doing anything else, or we're just talking about removing the shingle and having a complete clapboard surround?
We're doing the windows also, but we already got approved for that in a prior meeting. And then the homeowner has decided to do the siding in the front if we get approved for it. So in this meeting, no, we're just looking to do this siding and tile.
And that's specifically on the front of the house?
Yep, the rest of the house is already clapboard already.
I got it.
And what is the material for the clapboard? Is it wood?
It's wood, it's cedar, yes.
Great.
My understanding is the applicant said that they were going to match exactly the existing clapboard on the sides. Is that correct?
Correct. We're gonna remove the old, you can see that's all that rotten yellow. And behind that, you can actually see another section that is a masonite or a hardy plank board. So we're gonna remove that too and do everything out of the wood cedar.
Thanks very much. Folks, any
I would
comments or
just ask,
questions?
it's the same, the specifications are the same as the original cedar in the neighboring houses?
Yes, I believe one of the neighboring houses is not actually a cedar siding, but it looks like a 1/2x6 cedar. The one to the left is an actual wood 1/2x6 cedar. The one to the right, I believe, is a particle board siding that mimics a 1/2x6 cedar.
Thank you.
Have you investigated the actual siding that's underneath the shingles that you're removing?
No, there's no real access to that. If there's
But you
original, sorry,
Go ahead.
if there's original 1/2x6 cedar siding under there, if it can be left or kept there, we would definitely do that.
Okay.
Absolutely, it can be left or
Great.
kept. If it,
Yeah.
if it's workable for you, yeah.
I don't, because of the thickness of the two buildings next to each other side by side, I don't believe it's under there. And you can buy the trims of the windows. It looks like they did a removal and a tiled siding on top of that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks
you're
very much. Daryl, if there are no more questions, may I have a motion to find the application complete?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Paul. And second, Hugh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. May I have a motion to waive a public hearing and request city attorney to prepare a certificate of appropriateness?
Make that
Oh.
motion.
I'll second
Paul,
it.
Excellent. Jeremy, done. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Thank you very much. So Daryl, that was your first Zoom
Yay!
and you did really well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Victoria, for sharing my screen or trying to.
Somebody remind me where I am. That was 30 Union? No. Where were we on that?
30
Was it-
Union is next.
That's what I thought. Or didn't think. Who's here to speak for 30 Union Street?
I am John Connor, the owner.
Hey, John, good morning.
Morning.
So you've seen the drill. John, are you able to share your screen with the
I think
application?
I'm also going to need
Yeah.
Victoria's assistance with this. If she could pull up the application, I think it'd be better for everyone else.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
John, tell us overall what you're doing and then what
Sure.
we're looking at.
I was before the board November of last year about the external detailing and renovation of 30 Union. The biggest issue that we had, which actually precipitated a stop work order earlier in the year, was that the 5 windows on the first floor of the front of the house were smaller than the openings. This was an error on part of my architect, but anyway, that's then, this is now. I think I have a good solution to the situation. We've taken, you'll see the windows that I purchased, and I've actually built a sample. We took apart one of the entire windows, kept the profile of the frame, kept the upper sash, but to gain 6 more inches so we get them longer. The original windows, or the windows we replaced, were 69. I actually needed, the opening was 76. So what we did is custom make. My guys in Long Island made a elongated lower sash by 6 inches. So you'll see in the photo that's on the screen right now is the one from Brosco that's on the right that was poorly painted. Took that out and then exactly copied all of the detailing with just a longer sash by 6 more inches, meaning that each pane of glass is approximately 3 inches longer than they were before. There's also a rendering, Victoria, if you scroll a bit further down or click the next. This is a rendering of what it would look like finished. So we have the trim that's, consistent throughout, except we now, the sill and everything comes down 6 more inches. So there is visually a little different. Obviously, you can tell that the lower sash is longer than the upper sash. But this was sort of our creative solution to get the window to fit the historic opening more appropriately.
John, you had used, I think for a while, you had trim boards to cover the spacing.
We had implemented sort of a lower board that wasn't terribly elegant, that was about 6 inches. And it just, I agree, it didn't look great. So this is the solution to elongate the glass part of the window. So we have the trim meet the opening correctly, and also, have the opening meet the window correctly. So.
John, was any part of the original installation, I guess it was not correct. My recollection is that there was some kind of trim or adjustment under pretty much all the windows.
They were short, so so the window was installed with, abutting the header, and then sort of a large 7-inch inelegant fascia at the bottom, which was the complaint, and I wholly agree, it didn't look great. Unfortunately, the company doesn't produce 70-inch long windows. I had the longest windows that they make. Even a custom option wasn't available with Brosco because of glass issues and production issues. So I got my guys to make, or this is one, actually did make one, to elongate the whole unit. So instead of being 69 inches long, it's 76 inches long.
Thanks very much, John.
And fits the first floor openings are larger, which unbeknownst to me until recently, larger than the upper stories.
Okay. Anything else being changed other than the windows, John?
This was the part. This is the meat of the application. Are these 5 windows? There's also to add siding, a 9-inch siding on the back part of the addition, which is quite old. There was a plastic siding on before, which has been removed. If you go to the site, you'll see that there's what's left of the older siding. I intend to reclad the area that was always wood. There was the 3rd floor and part of the 2nd floor were actually structured wood framed as opposed to masonry. So it was to add the siding back to that, except with a larger reveal, a 9-inch reveal as opposed to a 6-inch reveal, just to give it more heft because the building's quite large.
John, is that part of this application, or was that part of the previous?
Yes, this was an amendment to the application I submitted in November, and the bulk of our discussion in November was about the windows, not so much about the siding. And that's replacing what was, well, actually enhancing what was there, because what was there was plastic. That's been taken off, revealing the more historic siding, and then replacing that with 9-inch clapboard in wood.
Okay.
And then
Victoria, do you
lastly,
mind? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
John. No, go ahead, John. Please complete.
and then there's the one last element is there's an egress structure that was there that was falling off the building. It had fallen off. There is a architect's drawing of what was there, and simply replacing the egress structure that was there prior to my purchase of the building in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see that A is the old windows, the aluminum windows, which didn't fit the openings either, with the replacement windows atop.
I see. And then you had the longer windows on the bottom.
That's right.
Got it.
So
That
in this
are installed,
photograph,
go ahead.
in the photograph that we're looking at right now, excuse me for interrupting, then the 2 windows that we're seeing on the 2nd floor, those are recent replacement windows, is that correct?
They are. Yes, there were 47 windows replaced in the structure. So those fit. The architect unfortunately didn't measure correctly and assumed that all the windows were the same size. The 5 windows on the first floor in the front part of the building are 76 inches long, whereas the rest of the building is 69 inches long.
So you're
Could we
correcting
go
an
back
error.
to that photograph, please, that we were just looking at?
Which photograph? Because I
Yeah.
pulled up like a bunch.
Sorry, the one that we were just looking at had a view of 2 second-floor windows and 2 first-floor windows.
Was that maybe picture 2? No, hold on, let me find
A,
which one.
it was picture A.
It was A, got it. I'll pull that one up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in this photograph, we see the windows on the second floor. And it looks like on the second floor, the window sills, the wood sills of those windows sit directly down on the slope sill, sits directly down on the stone sill,
On the marble sills, that's correct.
on the marble sill, correct. And it also looks
Yep.
like the amount of wood on the sides, I can't see the top, but on the sides is narrower than the mock-up that you're showing. Is it maybe then the mock-up that you're showing, those widths will be trimmed down in order to fit the masonry openings?
The widths weren't, actually the trim is the same. We copied the trim because we took it, obviously to pull the whole window apart. The trim is the same. Our issue was with the length. So the trim, you'll see the second windows, and if you go on site, the rest of the windows, the trim will be identical. It's just simply
Yeah.
the
Okay,
length of the lower sash.
could we
You'll
just
see
go
that
back
there-
to could we just go back to that mock-up? It's terrific that you made this mock-up, by the way. That was the
Great.
first photograph. Victoria,
You see it? It's on my screen. If not, I'll redo it.
it's not on ours.
Okay.
Okay, so in this situation, you see that the picture framing of the window comes around underneath the sill. And really in the more traditional correct installation, that sloped wooden sill would not have an apron underneath it, a wooden apron underneath it. That sloped sill would sit down directly on the marble sill, thereby making your bottom window even, taller, if you will, if you're going to keep the top sash.
I wonder if
I
that's,
just
this
want
is
to
my
point,
renderer. I'm wondering if that is wholly,
Yeah, I think it's photoshopping. You can see the angle perspective is a little off if you compare the actual photo. Like if you look at the bottom there,
yes,
I think that's the
Yeah.
perspective it's not in perspective of the actual image. So what looks like an additional trim is in fact 2 different perspectives that have been layered on top.
super good. Thank you, Jeremy, for pointing that out. I mean, I think that this, first of all, it's vastly improved over the previous, that's for sure. And
okay,
these windows are highly irregular because of the settlement of the brick, and you can see the slope across
Yes.
the sills and so forth. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
this is a great improvement. I would just point out to the commission that typically the windows on the upper sash would be the same vertical dimension as the windows on the lower sash. They wouldn't be taller on the lower sash in this kind of an application. All of those windows would be the 6/6, all of those windows would be the same height vertically. Just pointing that out to the commission, I think that it's a vast improvement, and it's a difficult installation that you've obviously worked very hard at to make improvement to. So I just offer that to the commission.
Anyone else want to comment? Okay. May I have a motion to find the application complete? Victoria, stop sharing if you would. I need to see what, thank you so much. Hey, Victoria, thanks so much for all your sharing
Thank you.
screening. It makes a big difference. Who's
Yes,
got the motion?
Thank you very much.
I move it.
Thank you very much, John. And a second, Paul, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Application is complete. May I have a motion to waive a public hearing and ask the city attorney to prepare a C of A?
I'll make that motion.
Terrific, thank you. And a second,
second,
Miranda, all in favor?
Well,
Aye.
just for the
Are there
record,
any, are there any opposed?
I
Pardon me?
oppose.
I want to be clear, you're voting on the whole package, not just the windows, right?
We are voting on the windows. Those other elements were approved in a previous application. That's my
It
understanding.
expired, so no, they're part of the new application, those two other elements. Yes.
They are. All
Yes.
right, then I am wrong. So to be clear, it includes, say it again, John, siding?
The cladding on the rear part of the building, as well as the replacement of the egress structure.
And you would agree on the cladding that if there is a correct and useful clapboard underneath, that will be preserved?
It's already exposed and it is not. Right?
I see.
You can see that from the street if you drove by.
Okay. Did we cover the opening properly? Not on the clapboard, I'm sorry. What was the other piece you referred to?
The egress structure that goes from the top, the second and third floors, that there prior, when I purchased the property in 18, had fallen or taken off. There we are. And this is the as drawn from, actually these were from early 19, these drawings showing the egress structure that was there prior.
so what,
And could we take a look at the new egress structure, John?
It's in plan for what was there, again, in 18. It's highlighted in the green on, there's I think 2 or 3 renderings from the architect that show it. Yeah, that's the side view.
can we rotate the image possibly?
That's tough.
It's at the top there.
I'm not understanding what the egress structure is.
It was a composite wood, for lack of a better word, which I try not to use as a fire escape, but an egress structure.
I
that
see it.
was of, yeah. that
John,
was
that's
the-
on the back of the house?
These are 3 floor through units. So it's to get an additional egress from unit 3 and unit 2.
Okay, so that's a safety issue and so on, but
And that to code and whatnot,
Yep.
but it's to replace, yes.
But we can't see what it looks like. Can we blow it up a little bit?
John, did you have pictures or like renderings in the?
No, I have this as-built from the architect that show it, which I just highlighted in green.
You mean it's built already?
It was built, but it fell off the back of the building. So this was the as-built, and it was taken off because it was a hazard.
is this
it
a like,
replacement in kind?
Yes,
thank you.
And what is it made of?
this will be on, instead of the, what is the chemically treated wood, it'll be done in wood as well, but in the more environmentally sensitive, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the terminology.
Not pressure
for it.
treated?
It's pressure treated, but not that green copper.
Arsenic one.
The more toxic one is, I'm not using that one, obviously.
Okay,
But we don't have any details to show what this is going to look like.
Well, I mean, question for Craig, if this is this in fact, did you determine this was a replacement in kind? Is this part of the C of A application?
It's part of the C of A application. I don't know if it's a replacement in like or in kind. I know they took off the old one and they replaced it with a newer structure, which is now in compliant, but we do need a detail of the material.
It hasn't been built. There's just the platform for that has not been built to date.
Okay, so what was there is no longer there. We don't even know what was there. So in order to provide proof of like for like, we need to know what was there first before it's removed. So
Right.
They gotta give us a detail of what is going back there, the material, the size, the detail of the.
How wide the
construction.
balusters are.
John,
Yes,
we're gonna need to take the egress structure off.
That's
at this
fine.
time,
that's fine.
And have you come back with more detail.
Great.
Sorry about
And
that.
do you have any pictures of what it looked like before you took it down?
I do, but I technically,
I think that would be important to determine
Okay.
whether it's like for like or not.
Bring that with, Miranda, I'm asking for another application on this.
I understand.
stripping
Okay.
away the egress structure.
From what I can remember, it was an old rotted wood, some type of wood structure that was back there. And
That's
it was,
right.
it was just in an unsafe condition. So I think what they're doing is replacing it with wood, but the
Yes.
whole design of the egress system is going to be different than what was there. So with that said, the design comes into play, the material, everything comes into play.
Okay.
As a new structure being built onto the exterior.
Okay, John, as you know, if it was a true like for like, that would not necessarily go to the commission. You should work with Craig as you put together your plans for the egress.
I'll do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think our motion still stands on the application, but it is about the windows.
And the cladding.
And the cladding
Yes.
being removed. We already declared that complete. May I
Let
have a
me just ask,
motion?
excuse me, Phil, but Paul, did you have some comment to make? I thought I heard you start to make a comment.
Yes, I really wouldn't agree with the window that's been presented. Granted, I can understand the owner that his architect was in error. But I mean, I'm really just not familiar with the window format like what's being presented, and I just don't think it would be appropriate for that.
Okay.
So for those reasons, again, but I do understand it's a tremendous improvement over what was there, I have to say. But again, I would have liked to have seen the treatment tweaked just a little bit more.
So Paul, is what you're inferring that you would have liked to see the panes the same size, so you didn't have one that was, you wanted the
Exactly.
proportion to be equal?
Exactly, but again, I do want to be sympathetic to the owner. I do understand that, you know, this is an unusual situation.
Okay. Anyone else? Cool. We have a motion for complete. May I have a motion to waive a public hearing and request the city attorney to prepare a C of A? Anyone? Hugh, make that motion. Jeremy, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Are any opposed? I recognize Paul's objection. I don't know how anybody's going to vote on this. Prefer to do it then by voice vote, if I may. Hugh?
Aye.
Chip?
No,
John Schobel?
You're muted, John.
Sorry,
Aye.
aye.
Phil? Aye. Jeremy?
Aye.
Paul?
Opposed?
Okay. I reckon Miranda, I'm terribly sorry.
Don't miss Miranda.
I'll vote aye.
Okay. We have, I believe, 5 ayes and 2 nays. If that's correct, the ayes have it.
Yes.
And we will go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you very much for your hard work.
Thanks.
529 Warren Street.
That would be me, Samantha, with Taconic Engineering, representing the owner of 529 Warren Street.
Good morning, Samantha.
Good morning. Let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So the owner would like to replace all the front windows with a Marvin Wood 2/2 window, just the 12 up here on the top portion. And also they'd like to repoint the brick, which I forgot to check on the application. So if a new application, or if I need to update the application, I can certainly do that as well. But they'd like to replace the existing windows with 2/2 Marvin wood windows and repoint the brick on the base.
Samantha, the repointing is basically repair, restore damaged mortar between the bricks?
Yeah.
Is there any other change that's occur other than that repair?
No.
Is the idea that the brick would remain painted after
Yes.
the point up?
Yes, I believe they're repainting it. So there'd be no have to like matching the color or anything. It would just all be repainted as well.
Okay. Anything else in the scope on this, Samantha?
No, just the replacing of the windows and the repointing.
Okay, so let's take a look at the windows. What are they?
These Marvin Wood Elevate 2/2 windows.
Okay.
They are not clad, they're wood to be painted.
Yes, wood to be painted black.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I have a motion to find the application complete.
Excuse me, one
Yes,
other thing,
yep.
again, in light of the application we just reviewed,
Someone's got their audio on. Please mute yourself if you're not addressing the commission.
thank you, Phil. In light of the application that we just reviewed, I think it's important that we make a note that the windows be sized to appropriately replicate the masonry openings of the existing building, and that the relationship between the window parts is uniform from floor to floor.
Okay,
It looks
Samantha,
like
is that
these
agreeable?
windows are graduated, taller on the second, less so on the third, and less so on the fourth.
Can I just-
So you want the new windows to replace the existing at the same size, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Chip,
Samantha,
I mean,
is there a
can you
mix-
just repeat? I'm sorry, Paul, to interrupt.
Yeah.
I just wanted Chip to repeat that for the C of A. Windows be appropriately sized to match the window opening and
The masonry openings of the building.
Mhm.
And that the window frame have the same relationship to the brick and the sills and the head, the masonry opening, that the wood replacement wood frame of the window have the same relationship to the brick as the existing windows.
okay. Thanks. Sorry, Paul.
Oh, that's right. Samantha, is there a mix of windows on the building right now? Some look 6/6 and.
Yeah, the bottom is 6/6 and the top is 1/1.
1/1? Yeah,
And they'd like to replace all windows with the same 2/2.
And they all appear to be replacement windows in there now, or do any of them appear to be original, or?
I want to say they look to be replacement windows.
Okay,
And this photograph does show the 2/2 windows of the building on the right-hand
On the right.
side.
yes.
And I think 9/9 windows on the left-hand side. So it's really a very curious hybrid. I don't really know it looks like these three buildings that we're seeing in our view right now were probably built within the very close to the same time period or renovated in the same time period.
Right.
I think stylistically, the 2/2 windows will work with this Italianate cornice and So,
I agree. I agree.
I agree too.
Anything else, Samantha?
Nope, that's it.
Terrific. Okay. May I have a motion to find the application complete with this specifics that Chip and Victoria just discussed? We'll get those in the C of A. That motion, please.
Motion.
Paul, thank you. And Hugh, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to waive a public hearing and request city attorney to prepare a C of A.
I'll make that motion.
Paul, thank you very much. And Jeremy, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None? Approved. We go forward. Thank you very much, Samantha.
Thank you. And do you want me to update the application to check the repointing? scope?
That would be useful. Why don't you go
Okay.
ahead and do that and get a copy to both myself and Craig?
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you. 702, 704 Columbia Street.
That's me as well. Let me.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Okay, Samantha again, representing the owners of 702, 704 Columbia Street, and also on the meeting is Kylie, who is also working on the project, who's the architect.
Excuse me, Samantha.
Yes.
John Schobel, I need to step out for a minute. Can you?
I can do my best.
Okay, thanks very much, John. I apologize.
No problem.
Okay.
So this is the survey and existing condition of the building at Columbia, on the corner of Columbia Street and North 7th Street. It's currently vacant and in the past has been used for business use and residential. The front portion is a 3-story brick building. And in the rear is half of the rear is 2-story brick and a 1-story building. So the owner proposes a 2 retail space and a space that could potentially be used for a restaurant, and then the 2nd and 3rd floor as residential. So the owner is proposing to extend that 2nd floor brick portion in the rear across the entire building, and then adding a 1-story addition to the back with prefab metal staircase and a fenced-in courtyard. So there'd be 3 types of fences. There's the fence along the sides, which is the brick and aluminum fence, brick and metal fence, which is this detail right here. And then along the back side is the brick and wooden fence, which is this bottom detail right here, which is brick with a tongue and groove wood panel. And then the dumpster enclosure would have a different fence, which would be this top one. All fences proposed are similar, with the brick and then, you know, either the wood paneling or the metal balusters. And just the dumpster enclosure would be a full wood from top to bottom with similar brick columns on the side. That is the proposed site plan. I'll move to the elevations. So this is the front elevations. This top elevation is the existing front with the picture of the existing front. So it's easier to see and visualize for you guys. And they're proposing to replace, remove and replace the windows and remove what is this wood board with a rounded window on top to then replace the windows for double hung with double hung windows. restore the existing door that's on the front right here, this existing door, they want to restore. The center door, they want to remove and replace to match the existing. And then they would like a new door on this side right here. And that door would be the door that's in the rear. They would like to restore that and move this door to the front, which is right here. In addition, they're going to remove the existing planters that are under the windows and replace here, the plans that you have or that you see say remove and replace windows to match existing, but they actually want to just restore the existing windows. So we can make that update on the plans to reflect what they want. That was the most recent change. And repointing the brick where needed. So that is the change. Oh, and add a new corner bracket to match the opposite side. So
What is
those
this?
are,
Yeah, what is this? What is this door in the bottom right?
this one, this
Yeah.
is the door that's on the back of the building right now that they want to
Huh?
restore and bring to the front of the building. The new door that will be installed in the
Yeah.
front.
So is there evidence that there was a door there before, or you just want a door there?
I am unsure on the door, but I can look into that for you.
They're breaking the space up into 3 different spaces.
Mhm.
So they need another, so they're proposing a door because they're splitting the space.
So the door on the right side is for the retail space, and the door on the left, which would be this new door, would be for the potential restaurants.
What's this? What is gonna go where that door is that you're pulling out?
I'm sorry?
What will you put where that door is that you're pulling out?
New doors, and that's, I can show that on the other elevations. When I get there.
And what's happening with the middle door?
They're just replacing it, but to match the existing what's already there.
Cynthia, you mentioned about the windows being restored in place, and I see that. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I'm just trying to make sense of that.
These the windows on the upper portion.
Yes.
I'm gonna have Kylie talk to you about the windows. She's more familiar with that.
Hi. So they would like to replace those windows in their original shape. There's a plywood panel that was attached on the exterior. Where they installed that to install some storm windows. On the inside, you can see the original round shape of the windows. Can you pull that picture up, Samantha?
Okay.
So the window is curved at the top and it's square at the bottom. The frame itself is square, but there's 4 true divided lights in there. We're proposing that we're going to remove that plywood panel to expose the original shape of the window, inside and outside.
And the windows will be restored or replaced?
They're going to be replaced, but we want to show the original shape because it's currently hidden.
It's such a beautiful window. There's no chance of restoring it.
We could. That's something that we would need to speak to the clients about, but that's definitely an option.
The other feature of this photograph that we're looking at is that the center mullion, the vertical mullion that divides the 2/2, is a much wider mullion than what might be typically included in a typical replacement window. So I think attention to the mullion size and thickness is important in the replacement. I just want to point out to the commission that in this interior view illustrates that the interior trim of these windows on the upper stories is rectilinear. The exterior is a curved arch, a round arch that you can see on the exterior. So these windows are unusual because they are arched on the outside, if you will, and rectilinear on the interior.
Correct. There's a brick detail. I'm going to refrain from saying brick mold because it's separate from the mold itself, but it's that relief detail that creates that arch, and it actually covers up the rectilinear frame that you're talking about.
Correct. Could you show an exterior view of those windows again for the commission? Do you have a
Zoom.
detailed photograph of that?
Yeah, if you zoom in, that's great.
Yeah.
Going a little further.
Unfortunately, that's as far as I can zoom in, but I can certainly send you a closer up photo.
Yeah. The for the commission, the arches of these upper story windows are very interesting, elaborately detailed corbelled brick that form the arch shape. It's quite a handsome building, and there's just a lot of original material that's there that's quite attractive. And in this photograph, we can see that to, I think, Paul's point, or I think it was Paul's point, that many of these original sash, in fact, are in place, obviously in need of repair and restoration.
And just to elaborate on that, Chip, Samantha and Kylie, if there was a way, if those windows could be further evaluated to see if they could be restored instead of being replaced, I think would be a great idea.
Okay, we can look into that.
Does the commission have any opinion on the door, the new door that seems to be the most radical change proposed?
I think it would be interesting to know the storefront that's there is clearly not original to this building, and the replacement of those, the infill sash that are there, I think are not original. I don't. Can you zoom in on that storefront as you had before? There are these fluted iron columns that are painted yellow here. And certainly the planters should be removed. The condition of that storefront is super questionable. I mean, it's been really beat up. I don't doubt that there was originally some different type of door and window configuration for the storefront. It'd be super useful if we had an original, an early photograph that might reveal this, what this storefront configuration is. I think that my personal opinion is that the existing storefront is not original and probably really not worth restoring. You suggest that you would replace in kind the storefront windows. I think far more important would be to restore the second and third floor windows, which are original material. And I think it would be beneficial both for the owner and the future occupants to have a more considered design for the storefront rather than what's there. I haven't looked at this recently, so I'm just, but my gut reaction is that the storefront is not original to the building. I think the other thing that's interesting here is that you can see flanking that existing center door are, I think, two brick piers. I don't know if those are original or not. It would be really useful if the applicant could tell us whether those brick piers are original or not. And that they be considered as to the placement of new storefront. And I think the other question for the commission is, what's the sign panel or what's the storefront roof, if you will, or the storefront entablature? I don't know what original material there is there or what that design looks like. So it'd be helpful if the applicant could bring us more information about the storefront.
We do have some information regarding that. Those brick piers in the center that are on either side of that door, we believe those are original. Same with the brick pieces on the edges. So the inset that you see, which is in front of the existing storefront windows, in all of the historical images that we have, that also appears to be original. But you are correct when you said that the configuration that exists now for those storefront windows is probably not original. That door on the right-hand side is probably original, but the rest of the windows and the doors may not be. There are multiple representations that have conflicting information.
And do you believe that the fluted cast iron steel columns, that those are original to the construction?
Yes, because they seem to support those large masonry openings that are cut in so that you can see that inset.
Yeah. Do you have historic photographs that show some of the original storefront?
I have them. They're actually, give me 1 second. Maybe it would be best to bring them back at another time because I have to find them and pull them up.
We can gather them up and submit.
This is this is a handsome building, and there's a lot of original material there, and its restoration is going to be a great asset to the park and to the community. And I encourage a really thoughtful restoration of this building because it's a real gem of a building. If you're going to come back at a later time with more detail on the storefront, maybe we could defer discussion of that until then. Could you show us the rear and the side, the work that you're proposing for that?
Yep, I can continue with the presentation. So this is the South 7th Street elevation. Again, the top is the existing elevation with the existing photograph. And they'd like to repair the frieze and brackets as needed at the top, replace the existing windows with 2/2 double hung windows, and add a new new window to match the front windows to the side of the building towards the front. And then, so the rear of the building is where like the additions are going. So this is the existing building and it will remain brick. And then the addition of the first floor with proposed vertical wood clapboard siding. And then the prefab staircase going up to the first and second roof deck with the appropriate guardrails around the decking. And you can see it better in the rear elevations, but the owner would like to add custom greenhouse windows, as you can see on the side elevation here. And again, you can see it better on the rear elevation. And we would like the committee's input on that proposed system, window and door system. And here's the rear elevation. Again, this is the existing rear. The all the staircase and deck is getting demoed. And what's being proposed, so the second story here, they'd like to extend out to the full length of the building and have these new custom greenhouse windows and door assemblies on either side, on both sides. And then the bottom addition is just the one-story addition. Again, with new doors on the third floor and a new window to replace where the existing door was. Repointing the brick, a solid guardrail on the third floor above the windows and doors on the second floor. And new windows and doors on the first floor, and a new guardrail for the second floor and third floor.
Are the windows that we're looking at in the lower drawing here on the right-hand side, those windows, greenhouse windows that you've described, are they in the same plane as the yellow brick that is in the photograph on the right-hand side, or is that an addition outside of that?
So the greenhouse windows on the left side here that I'm pointing to is on the addition on the second floor that will be flush with the existing.
Okay, so you'll actually be removing the second floor brick rear addition in order to install those greenhouse windows.
Kylie, do you know the answer to this?
We'd only be removing the brick where the windows would be going. The rest of the brick would remain.
Well,
So yes,
yeah,
to the answer to your original question, yes, they're in the same plane as that brick.
yeah. So in the photograph that we're looking at on the right-hand side, the first floor doors that are there are the doors that you were planning to move to the front. And the brick flanking that first floor will be modified in order to install the two doors that are illustrated in your drawing on the left-hand side, correct?
No.
No?
So the addition is going to be 12 feet larger than the building.
Okay, so the if you would put your cursor on the second floor windows, exactly, on the right-hand side, those windows are not on the same plane as the brick photograph. That's the brick in the photograph on the right. Is that correct?
No, they are. They are on the same plane on the second floor. The doors and the windows that you see on the first floor are 12 feet closer to us. So it's, yes, so it's tiered.
So the commission needs to know that in order to install the greenhouse windows on the second floor, that the existing brick in this photograph on the right-hand side will be removed. The roof will be modified. The 2/2 window that is there will be removed. And the brick that is we're seeing in the photograph on the right-hand side on the first floor will be covered up by an addition, correct?
We'll go back to the site plan. So the original is where the greenhouse windows and doors would be on this plane right here on the second story existing existing building over here. And then an additional first floor will be added in front or behind that existing second.
And so if you were to take us back to the side elevation, the North 7th Street side elevation, which you showed us before.
Yep.
There you go. The commission can see, if you would put your cursor on the outline of the existing brick, there we go, yeah, right? That existing brick is there. Bringing it down, it will be removed on the 2nd floor so that the greenhouse windows can turn the corner in this design. And then there's an opaque handrail above that one. Oh, is there slope? Oh, I'm seeing you have sloped glass. That's why you're calling it a greenhouse. And
Kylie?
the sloped roof,
Yes, there is sloped glass on top of there.
I see.
Mhm.
Would you put your cursor on that, zoom in to that so the commission can see that? There we go. Right, so put your cursor on the sloped glass that's there. That sloped glass is going across the back of the building. If you could now show the commission the rear elevation. So this sloped glass point out, that's the sloped glass coming across there.
Yes.
Thanks for pointing that out, Chip. I couldn't deduce it from that 2D rendering.
Yeah,
So,
it's also a little hard to understand exactly if you were to put your cursor in between those two pieces of greenhouse glass where you have stairs, that wall right there, right where, hold it right there. That wall plane that you're showing right there is is essentially the background or behind the slope glazing behind the greenhouse. Correct?
No. So the sloped glazing starts at the existing brick and then is cut into the building behind 3 feet. So those windows would be installed in the existing plane, and then you'd be cutting out 3 feet so that you could get that sloped
I
plane
understand.
in there.
I understand that. So go take your cursor and zoom into that image right there into the slope glazing, if you would. So you see the slope glazing and you're indicating the glass, the triangular piece of glass, right? Then there's a triangular place that's above that that finishes out that rectangle. What is that material?
We're thinking that it would be some sort of copper flashing.
And where would that copper flashing be in the floor plan or in the rear elevation? It's not going to be copper flashing. Is it going to be copper flashing in the plane of the wall on 7th Street?
So because we're cutting out the brick, the copper flashing would be on the edge of that brick wall.
Well, then it's going to be above the slope glazing.
So it's going to start at the end of the sloped glazing and cover up the remainder of the existing wall that's there. If that makes sense.
Can you show us the rear elevation again? I think Chip is thinking that the windows go all the way across, but I think there's a section in the center where the stairs are that does not have those windows.
Correct.
mhm.
Yeah, and so my question is that in that, the plane of the wall that is, move your cursor a little bit to the left of those, right there, that wall plane that's right there is back at the top of the slope glazing. Correct?
It's my understanding that this wall here and the brick wall is still is the existing brick wall.
Well, if that's the case, then your slope glazing isn't going back, it doesn't make any sense. Your slope, you cut it out on the side, but you haven't cut it out on the back.
Yeah, my understanding is from what you said earlier is that it's 3 feet in and that you have these two planes. Where the brick is in this rendering is 3 feet back from where it is today. That 3 feet forward is where you have the glazing. And then you're gonna have some kind of turn or corner, which I think is what you're talking about, Chip, where the windows end and the wall continues.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is that I think that you kind of have an Escher drawing here that doesn't really work in 3D. You've got a side elevation that doesn't really work volumetrically with the rear elevation. So I think the whole issue of the slope glazing is an integral part of your proposal here, and it's rather hard to understand what it really means.
We can detail that, try to detail that out, that portion out for you so it's more understanding. My understanding that brick portion on the rear is not moving. It is not moving back 3 feet. It's staying in the plane that it is in existing.
If
So-
it's staying in the plane that it's existing, then it's staying in the plane of the front of the, as we're looking at it, the front of the greenhouse.
Yeah, the question is, looking at the greenhouse windows that are shown on this elevation,
Mhm.
is the top of those windows, the transoms across the top of the windows, are they flush with the brick wall, or do they have a sloped top that sticks out 3 feet? Or 2 feet or 1 foot?
Nothing sticks out. Let me go to the side.
Yeah, see what Chip is pointing out. There you go. So here you're saying you're taking 3 feet out of the existing wall.
Right, so the existing wall, this is the existing up here, it goes all the way down and it's in line
Right.
with the existing, so the existing rear wall is remaining, except for the portion where the greenhouse windows and doors are, where it would be set in.
It's also not clear what's that landing on top of all this, how that's working, but that's a separate question. So if we continue, if we imagine this triangle, you're saying that on the rear elevation, the triangle goes all the way across until the center section where the brick is remaining at the same plane that it is now. So right above where your cursor is right now, on that window that's closest to the wall, there's going to be a slanted plane coming out, and the bottom windows, the large windows, are flush with the brick. Is that right?
Yes.
So there's a tilted, and then what about above those windows? Is that at the plane of the existing wall? So the whole slant is underneath the existing wall, or what is that?
Kylie, do you know that question?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So looking at the horizontal plane above the greenhouse windows, that's right, that section there, is that flush with the existing brick wall? And if so, then it would mean that the slanted top of the greenhouse windows are underneath a shelf of brick, which doesn't
No,
make
so
any
the,
sense. Otherwise, the windows have to be sticking out beyond the brick.
so the slanted part is recessed with the deck that's above. So
The deck
the
made of.
wood.
It's not very clear on this drawing because it looks like it would be brick. It looks like it's the same material as the center section where the stairs are.
Right.
And I wonder what you get from that slant if it's underneath the deck. Really isn't any light that's going to come in there. We better
So
off
the deck
the whole thing
the
flush.
deck above will be cut out around those windows, and then there will be like a 3 foot by 3 foot platform there that comes out to the stairs. And so the same condition will exist below. So that triangle that you were talking about before that exists above the slanted window is what would be the remainder of that 3 foot platform above.
So could we look at the side elevation again to see how that works?
Sounds like we may need some more sections or some more clarity here before, is that accurate?
Mhm. So what you're
I
saying.
agree.
Yeah, it's very-
I think we need to have more clarity here before we really evaluate this.
Okay.
Do we want to break up some of the pieces? Because there are a couple different themes we've been talking about, everything from the back to the windows to the door. Do we need to kind of systematically go through them, or?
But also, I'm a broken record in this. The front, it seems to me, once we see the historical photos, determine what historical elements are there and what is being retained or modified, like that seems pretty standard for us.
Mhm.
And the back, although, it's hardly, the existing back is hardly a thing of beauty to behold. I would say that the proposed modifications are pretty significant. And even though I think they're ultimately, once we deduce what they actually are going to appear to be beneficial, it's a pretty big and pretty public change. And I wonder if we ought not have a public hearing at some point. So I just sort of want the applicant to be aware that at least that would be something that I would advocate for. Once we deduce what it is, that we let, because it's going to be very, very visible from all parts of the surrounding area.
I agree with that sentiment, John. I do want to say one other thing about the storefront, and in this image that we're looking at right now, the proposal to bring the storefront around the side, as is proposed here, we can really see how inappropriate the existing storefront is to the original architecture of this building. And I think that if there is to be thought about bringing the storefront around the corner, it really needs to be fully understood in light of what it looks like three-dimensionally and what the original storefront is. It's clear that the original storefront probably never turned the corner. So that's just a fact. The opening that we see in the photograph here, the large opening on the first floor appears as though it may be an original opening. I don't recall quite what the lintel condition is on that opening, but that may have been a service door or an opening of some nature. I don't really know, but I think that it would be useful for the commission if the applicant would do a little research on that opening. Again, historic photographs would be super helpful. And I think if the applicant intends to bring the storefront around the corner, it really needs to be thoughtfully detailed. The existing brick pier which is shown, if you scroll back for a second, so that we can look at the storefront, the proposed storefront. What is actually in this, yeah, the brick pier on the left-hand side of the storefront is a kind of a pier, but it's not really a pier or a column. It is an extension. It is part of the side wall. So if the proposal is to cut a storefront in the side, then that side wall brick then becomes a pier and not a wall. And as this storefront that we're looking at right here, right now, is very well bracketed on the left-hand side and the right-hand side by the existing brick side walls. So when you return with more details, I think this storefront really needs to be heavily considered and a more thorough explanation of how you're actually going to detail it if you wish to take it around the corner. Also, as we're looking at this photograph, you're proposing to extend the bracketed cornice on the right-hand side, which of course in this image does balance it out in this elevation. What is not indicated in the application is it intended that that bracketed cornice extend all the way back? Or is it just the corner? On 7th Street, it extends the length of the 3-story building. We don't really know what you're proposing. There you go, yeah, there.
Yeah, so on
See
the
how-
last elevation, yeah.
You see how the parapet of the roof steps. So I see here, you're proposing that cornice return basically 2 bays. Yeah.
And then on this elevation, same with, similar to the other elevations, we are proposing to replace the windows with double hung windows.
Mhm.
And then, the addition from the side. And then repoint and repair brick as needed.
Mhm.
Samantha, this was a lot
Yes, it was.
to absorb and a lot of feedback. And I'm just trying to think what we have from time to time, not in a long while, been able to do a quote unquote workshop to go through some of this stuff. This is a ton of feedback and a number of interesting challenges on what obviously you, the owner, and we want to be a beautiful restoration, and also provide the functionality that you want. I'm trying to figure out the best way the commission can help you. I wonder if we could, with whatever legal permissions are, certainly Chip, maybe some 1 or 2 other commissioners, take this offline and go through more directly and more specifically some of the feedback the commission's provided, because I'm not confident that all of this you're going to be able to follow it. And I'm not confident that we're anywhere close to a public hearing until we have what feels like a complete application with all the information. So the public feedback is directed towards what you really want to do, and something that we feel is also complete from a commission point of view. And any comments from the commission? I see a couple next steps on this. First, or not first, but in terms of due process, I would ask for a vote on whether or not we find the application complete. And I reckon that it will not be found complete. And
I don't
second,
think, Chairman, I don't think you need to vote on that. I think you have enough to just
Walk on.
understand that it's not complete.
Samantha, how would you feel about some kind of workshop or some kind of one-on-one, not in this context, but actually going through some of the changes? I could, you tell me. I was having trouble following this. If you guys are comfortable, that's another matter.
Well, I mean, maybe Chip can explain specific, all right. So we know we want historic photos, right? So, and then we know we want comparisons between the historic photos and the proposed alterations. Although we know that we want to explore restoring rather than replacing the windows on the second and third
storefront,
floor,
correct?
No,
right?
second and third floors.
Okay, yeah.
The upper floors. And then I think everything then everything else is about the rear. And I think what we're trying to get, I think what we're trying to accomplish is to like get a greater sense of it. And you know, I don't know if that's through a rendering or a 3D rendering or some way that we can get a feeling for what the rear is going to look like in completion. And I would say the same about the fences because you're enclosing that yard. So if there's a rendering that shows all of that, rather than just an elevation drawing, and maybe Chip has more about what you could provide us. And then once we have all that, I think we can look at it, although I think we can still anticipate that the scope of this change and the visibility and public nature of it will call for a public hearing. But that's stuff I heard at a minimum we need.
Thank you, John. In response to your comments, Phil, I mean, the only thing I worry about with a quote unquote workshop is that we don't really want the commission to be designing these improvements. And we don't really want the commission to be such an active participant in the creation of these modifications. I think it's incumbent upon the applicant to bring forward to the commission solutions that are appropriate, that are able to be understood easily and completely. And I think that I agree, the application is not complete, but I genuinely appreciate the fact that the applicants are coming with an open book saying, here are some ideas, this is what we're thinking about. They're looking for some preliminary response. I think that's well within the purview of the commission to make comment about that. But I'm a little hesitant on the workshop thing, just because I don't think that should be our role.
I understand, Chip. I was just concerned about clarity, but if the applicants are clear going forward, then on the face of it, it's not a great idea. Of course, we shouldn't be designing. Same thing with the public hearing, John. I wasn't saying not to include the public. I just want to be sure that we were presenting something to the public that was complete and cohesive.
Well, and to that point, I wanted to ask Victoria about this legal question, and that is, do we have to find an application complete in order for there to be a public hearing? Or can we have a public hearing with an incomplete application and view that public hearing as a preliminary review? This applies itself directly to the depot project, which, I think we would all have, we did not determine that was a complete application at the previous meeting. But in the interest of public discussion, in the interest of an open discussion with the commission, which I'm all good on, I think it's good, but I just didn't know if legally we were on firm ground doing that.
So I just pulled up the code and I'm taking a look at what the requirements are for the hearing. It says, commission shall determine if the application is complete and then shall hold a public hearing. Well, that's prior to a designation or landmark. certificate of appropriateness, passing.
Third like
procedure.
setup spot.
I'm sorry. The commission shall hold a public hearing on the application, at which time an opportunity will be provided for proponents. So, I mean, I think that the general practice is to hold the hearing once you have a complete application, because it gives the public the opportunity to most fully participate. However, we've done this on the past. I don't think there's any harm in holding a public hearing earlier, provided that the public's, either the public hearing is continued, so that once you get a revised application, the public can comment on those revisions. So for something like the Depot District, you know, you can open the hearing and then continue it out for 2 months when we get something new. That's fine.
Okay.
For something like this, I would wait till you have a complete package.
Agreed.
I
So you don't
agree
have to
because
hold it twice.
I agree completely with Victoria. They're gonna come back with new renderings, new visuals for us, but we want to believe that they're good enough for us to vote on. And we want to vote after we have the public hearing, not have a public hearing, ask questions, send back drawings, and then have another public hearing. So I completely agree with the way Victoria's done it.
Right. Just to comment about the big picture application here for the architectural design of the rear additions. I agree with John. I think it's really important that we see the fencing and all of the rest of it as an integral part of this design. However, I will say that my first impression, looking at this, at the proposed additions in the rear, is that they're a little chaotic, they're a little confused. They don't seem to hold together in a cohesive way. I think we've got this plethora of steps and different types of handrails, some of which are opaque, some of which are spindled and open and so forth. And I think that the element of the slope glazing and the greenhouse that you're proposing here is not handled very well architecturally. And it contributes to sort of the chaos of this rear assembly of bits and pieces.
Yeah, agreeing completely with what Chip just said, I think it would be very helpful for us to, for you to look at those elements that Chip just described, and then provide new renderings of the rear elevation, maybe in pieces as well as in total, so that we can really understand both the planes that you're talking about and the materials. And in particular, this sloped window, it doesn't look like, normally you would do that so you get more light in, but if there's a platform above it, you're not going to get any light anyway. So it doesn't seem very successful to me.
Good. So Samantha, Kylie, are you to a point where we can break on this and you guys will come back when you're ready?
Yeah, I just had, I didn't know if you had any thoughts or comments at the committee on the vertical wood clapboard siding for the addition part of the building. If that's something the committee doesn't want to see at all, or
If it's a change or a new construction, we absolutely want to see it.
Okay.
Did you want to address that now?
Well, I just want your thoughts, what the committee thinks of that.
I think we've approved it in different contexts, so it's not like we have a definite no answer to that. I think it's all about how it connects to the design.
And I think we have to have a better sense of what it's going to look like than like what the actual material is going to look like.
Okay.
Okay.
And the additional information you wanted on the fence, you just wanted to see that on like elevation wise?
Also material, height, any decorative detail or lack thereof, how it relates to other materials in the building and so on.
Okay.
So did the board have enough on the windows? Because I didn't see window details. Samantha, were they included?
The window details for which windows?
Like all of them that you're replacing? Did you have the actual specs for those windows as part of the package?
We just call them out as Marvin Ultimate Wood double hung windows.
Right, but
We can
right,
get a
double
spec
hung.
and send it.
Okay, I
Okay,
think they usually look at the specs. Thank you.
thanks very much.
But I think, Victoria, more to the point with the windows is, I think the commission is asking the applicant to give serious consideration to not replacing the windows, but to restoring the windows in the building.
Oh, right, I agree. But there's new windows in the addition as well that you should.
No,
Oh,
you-
thank you.
look,
Okay,
you-
got it.
You're
Thanks.
both right. If there are new windows going in, a call out sheet or whatever would be useful in addition to obviously accurate renderings, et cetera.
Chip, just to clarify, you want or would like to see even the side windows restored rather than replaced? Like these
Well, in
windows
the-
on the side?
In the view, where we're looking at these windows now on the side, they are, it does look as if the second and third, I can't quite tell on the first floor windows, but the second and third floor windows appear to be 2/2, or some of them appear to be 2/2 and maybe original.
Yeah, the
I
third
think
floor
that-
is 2/2.
Yeah.
Are they original?
I'm not sure.
We wouldn't ask for a replacement of a subsequent inferior, like we wouldn't ask for a restoration of something that was subsequent and not likely to be original. But if those top floors are original and they are in condition where they could be restored rather than replaced, that would be great. But I think you'd have to inspect them a little more.
I think there are more, if you go to the 7th Street elevation photograph, to see what those, see, those are definitely windows that I think the commission would be interested to see restored.
Yes.
Because they're such an integral part of the building.
We can certainly look into that.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all your input.
You're very welcome. Go
Amanda,
on.
can you stop sharing, please?
Yep.
Thanks.
Going forward, I believe we're at 430 Union Street. Who speaks for 430 Union?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Can
Who's
you
that?
hear
I'm
me
not-
now?
Set to far.
Dean Forest,
We can hear you. It's breaking up a bit.
yes.
If you turn your camera off, it may help with your
Any
bandwidth.
better?
Someone has their audio on as well.
Does that help?
We can see your shared screen or someone's shared screen.
Yeah, that's better, DeForest, but do you have a phone on as well as your computer? Because that may be causing the echo.
No.
Okay.
You may have, is your volume up really high?
Yes.
Yeah, could you turn it down a little, please?
How is that?
Good.
Better.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to proceed?
You go ahead, DeForest. Thank you.
The applicant, the homeowner wants to, if you have the photographs, to remove the door at the rear of the building because he's putting in a new foundation and the door is no longer required. That door right there.
That's the entire scope, DeForest?
That is the entire scope for the historical preservation. That's the entire scope.
What, DeForest, what will it be replaced with?
Vinyl siding to replicate what's there.
Okay.
We're just eliminating the door and putting back vinyl siding over that opening.
Okay. That seems pretty straight up and clear. Commissioners, any questions?
I have no question.
No. If a motion to find the application complete.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
second.
Paul. And a second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Passed. Motion to waive a public hearing, request the city attorney to prepare a C of A for the removal of the door that we looked at and final siding.
I'll make that
Thank you
motion.
very much. Jeremy, good. Paul,
Thank you.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Approved.
Thank you.
354. Somebody's got something on that's bouncing back. Anyway, 354, 356 Union Street.
Hi, this is Andrew Personat. I'm representing Endeavor. I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay. So the property 354, 356 Union Street, this is an outbuilding in the rear of the property. Oh, I just wanted to mention also that Jim Strickler and Keith Bogdanovich, the owners of the property, are also on the call. So this is a building that's had kind of a rough ride, I would say. It's probably was a really beautiful historic outbuilding at one point. And just kind of, I don't know, feels like it has had everything thrown at it. If you, I'll just show you on the map. So Union Street, the main house in the front was bought by Galvin years ago and renovated. The carriage house that is on Cherry Alley and on the property line had the interior demolished by Galvin a little over a year ago. And so it is not been in use, but so our existing first floor and second floor plan basically are just showing, empty spaces. Prior to that, the building had been used as a residence, or it was 2 apartments. And so the intention is to bring it back to being a 2 apartments. So the, the existing building has a exterior access for, it has an exterior access for the second floor. We will be removing that exterior access. It also has obviously a later addition of a covered porch for the first floor access. We'll be removing that as well. Our intention is to make interior access for the second floor. It will be accessed from the side of the building and access through an interior staircase. And then for the first floor, we will be creating an access in this little cutout from the building. Other things that we're intending to do is put a post under this cantilevered corner of the building. Structurally, it's insufficient the way it is right now. And we'll be creating a small patio there. I'll flip to the drawings in a second to show you where that is. But the other intention for the outside is to, replace and restore the novelty siding as best as possible. It's had some patchwork. And then we're doing completely new window and door fenestration where we're not really reusing the exterior locations. These are like a totally random patchwork of old windows. The only thing we are holding on to is this location of the exterior second floor kind of hayloft door that is going to get replaced with windows in that same location and then mirrored on the other side. So these are the proposed exterior elevations. This is that first floor door in the little cutaway, just the sort of ground level landing, the new post in the corner. We do need to drop an LVL structure at that area to reinforce that structure. So I'm going to zoom in on this elevation. So this will get a new set of trim over that LVL. We're carrying that line of the trim around to the awning that we're putting on the side to cover the side entry. As I said, the majority of the siding is not, we're just replacing the novelty. One of the big differences on the outside is that the current fenestration has no real historically appropriate trim work. It's just kind of barren of detail around the windows and doors. So we're adding what we think is more appropriate for the time period. The new windows on the second floor are going to integrate into the the frieze board and the trim, the various cornice details, kind of the way they are right now. We are eliminating this door on the outside, so there won't be anything disrupting the dental molding at the base of the cornice. We are adding the circular windows in what will be a loft space on the inside. And then the cupola at the top, we are replacing the vents. The venting that you see here, we're keeping the structure and the framing and just inserting clear story windows at the top to bring light into the center of that space. Other elevations. So all of the windows are intended to be double hung windows. We are proposing Marvin Elevate. My understanding is that the only option for the exterior of Marvin Elevate is fiberglass clad. We would like to do fiberglass clad. There are no existing wood windows on the building. And we would like, that is what we're proposing. The only windows that will be inconsistent with that is in the, on this east elevation, we do have some clear story windows that would be single panes, similar proportion to the other windows, but are awning windows. This is over the kitchen. And then on, actually, I'm sorry, I think that's in the living room on that side. In the south elevation, the south is actually the rear of the building from Cherry Alley. It's like facing toward the back of the house on Union Street. For egress purposes, we would like to use casement windows. We're proposing to do casement windows with a heavy check rail so that it will look consistent with the double hung windows that would be visible from the Cherry Alley side, but will allow egress from the upstairs bedrooms and the downstairs bedrooms. And then the other inconsistency on the windows is that on the west elevation, the building is on the property line. So we need to give a fire rating to the entire west facade to meet the fire code. So these are fire rated windows. They are metal clad. These are all fixed windows, and they are in kind of bathrooms and kitchens, so they're all at a different proportion, but a proportion that is sort of in keeping with the existing windows on that facade. So currently there's just these 2 windows on the facade, the west facade. So let me see if there's anything else. I think that's the main points of the project. We do have interior, plans in the set. We do have a window and door schedule. The 2 exterior doors are also Marvin Elevate fiberglass clad doors. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Andrew.
Andrew, do you think that cupola is original? I can't tell. It looks like it's been slapped on. And I just don't know if you knew any of the history of it.
I don't, we don't have any historic photographs of the building. I don't know if it's original or not. It did actually have very similar proportions. It's kind of hard to see with the shadows in the eaves, but there's, the OG, basically these trims at the top, it's similar proportions. There's a similar exposure on the fascia under that. So whether it was original or added on, I can't say for sure, but it does have things that make me think it could be from the period. The other thing is that this probably was a true carriage house based on configurations with the overhang and the framing that we see on the inside shows that there may have been actual carriage doors. Also had to do, the engineer mentioned something about the framings and the way it was framed inside, that you could actually pull a carriage in, turn it around and bring it back out. So quite possibly this was a hay loft, this was a door that brought in hay to the upstairs, in which case they would have wanted some good ventilation to prevent overheating and fire in the hay loft. So I think, the other thing is from the inside, the framing had the same style, patina, type of wood. So I believe there's a good chance that it is original, but it is a little curious. So I don't know.
What are the veins of the louvers of the cupola made out of?
The existing louvers?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I have not been up on the.
Yeah.
I mean,
It sure looks like it's original equipment. And if you're finding interior finishes that go up into it that are convincingly of a similar age to the interior, I think as you just described with the hayloft use and so forth, it probably is original. It's very handsome.
yeah, I mean, the building has some pretty incredible, amount of details on it for an outbuilding. It's probably a little atypical if you go up and down the alleys in Hudson to see one with this much ornamentation on it. I mean, it seems like it's just kind of been crushed over the years with the amount of changes. There's not a single window or door location that looked kind of original to us. I think part of the reason we were asking to do Elevate, I know it'd be more typical to try to replace with like wood windows, but because there weren't any that we could tell that were original windows on this, and due to the expense, like those fire rated windows on the side, they're like $5,000 a piece. So there's some pretty serious investment that's going to be required by the owners. There's also a lot of structural challenges. One thing I forgot to point out, this brick section in the back, which seems to be a later repair, is intended to be removed and replaced with wood siding. But yeah, just the amount of investment that's going to take to restore this building. We were looking to see if we could do something lower cost for the windows, but still give it,
It's really terrific to be doing a legitimate restoration of this and an adaptive reuse. It's a really, really handsome building and makes a great contribution to the alley streetscape. It's interesting in this photograph, one of the questions that, yeah, if you would hold there, the fascia trim that you pointed out to that is on the same plane as the corner boards, that's below the dental molding, that commission should take a look at that piece of trim that's under the dental molding. If you would draw your cursor across that so that the commission can see it. That board looks like it really belongs with the corner boards and like it really is part of the original design with the novelty siding then coming up to it. Thank you for zooming in on that. That's very good. It does look like the later windows unfortunately compromise that trim. And this window that we're looking at just projects up several inches into it, while the other windows, many of the other windows go higher up into the, toward the dental molding. I think that your design would be much better if the proposed windows that you're suggesting were placed below that fascia board rather than up into it.
I would agree with you. My only challenge is that even going up into it, the way we have it, we only have a 5'6" head height at the window. So we're just above 5 feet for where you can see out. The proportions of the building are very large on the lower floor and very squat on the upper floor.
Yeah.
That was part of us wanting to remove this exterior door. This one actually cut all the way up through it.
Yeah. And to be able to restore and replace that dental molding across there is super, super important.
Yeah, that is our intention. That we want to really clean this up.
I think the concept of getting rid of that exterior stair is really important. And I think the concept of putting a column in at the corner is perfectly legitimate. Also, the overall concept is good. I think that it'd be interesting are you proposing to the doors that are in this north elevation, you're removing the hayloft doors?
We are removing the hayloft door. We are filling in with window here and then mirroring the window on this side.
Yeah. I think in one of the other applicants that we've had recently, the hayloft door opening has been retained, infilled with glass. And I think maybe the doors were used as shutters on the outside, or maybe it was a sliding door that was retained. I'm not recalling, but any opportunity that you might have to retain that original material, whether it be an interior, even if it's just an interior shutter, and that opening retained with the hayloft post, it's kind of nice to keep the original architectural intent of this building, as it helps to retain the original use of this building imagery as a carriage house, rather than. So I'd be inclined to try to keep that opening and try to keep that material, and even consider some of the other openings that you're making in the building to be somewhat more consistent with the openings and the imagery of a carriage house, rather than it's become, I think your openings are maybe a little too regular. and
Okay.
too residential-like and not,
I get what
But
you're
it-
saying. I would have to look back in it. We didn't explore. I just have to look back into the size of these. It seems like somehow they were bigger than the opening and there was a recess that went back up. We can take a look at that. I just be curious, we would probably have to change those windows to be larger, to have them work as, say, a shutter or something like that.
right,
Yeah, I get what you're saying about the asymmetry on this side.
yeah, I mean, even if the glass that was inserted into that wasn't a double hung window, but was a
Mm,
very modern glass panel,
I see. Yeah, more like a picture window or something like that.
right, and it could even still be subdivided, or a picture window as a single pane.
Mm,
I think that'd be kind of neat to keep that idiosyncrasy of the building.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah, right. Or still divided in the middle of the way the doors divided the opening. We could look
Yeah.
at that. I would have to talk with the owners and I would have to just verify with our trim details and the heights that we need for door openings and awnings,
Sure.
stuff like that, to make sure that I think there's a good chance that could still work in there. I think we'd probably be unlikely to want to change the head heights just because of the impacts on the rest of the windows.
Yeah.
We would just, I feel, lose too much light and glazing up there.
Yeah, I have to say, that hayloft door is such a salient element of this poor building that has been so chopped up and abused over the years, but it really is I think, a significant historic detail. And if there's any way of incorporating it into the design, I think.
Miranda, I was gonna say it, but I'm so overwhelmed with the quality of and thoughtfulness of the design that I was gonna refrain. So I'm glad you said that.
It's just, your design is really beautiful and there, lots of changes that are completely legitimate. But that is the one piece that tells us what this building was. And it just seems a shame to lose it. The
If there
other
were any
question-
way that the owners could consider that, incorporating that, retaining that, I agree with Miranda. It would be a service to the town.
Even if you took the window that's next to it now and made it larger so that more light would come in or something, it's, well, I said what I meant.
I've said it too.
Yeah.
And I just want to ditto the past few comments as well as keeping the bracket above the hayloft. Again, this pays homage to really what this building was all about and how it served the homeowner. So if those elements could be retained, I think it's very important.
The one other comment that I wanted to make, I'm fine with the fiberglass windows. I actually think that's a very good solution because they're paintable and I think they really do look very much like wood. The one place I would ask you to consider using wood would be in the door on the north side, the door on the alley. Because we have the hayloft, I'm concerned that a fiberglass door just will never look like it fits in this context. Now, maybe you disagree and maybe it's better to have it be really different, but that's one concern I have.
Okay. So I guess I would probably ask the owners if they wanted to chime in. I think, we did have one version actually of the design where we had the hayloft opening as a small balconette with actual like French doors, but we had some issues with height because it was like lower than like a normal door height. But in terms of, if we want to change that to make windows, and as you guys mentioned, possibly like mounting the hayloft doors to the side as if they had been swung open and windows were behind that. It's kind of at the top of the stairwell. I think it could be an appropriate place to have full height windows and doors. So I definitely think we could look at that and resubmit. Paul, to Paul's comment about I don't know what it's called actually, this beam that sticks out that they would bring the hay up on. We definitely want to keep that. We just, that was an oversight in the drawings. That would remain.
The door,
That
by
would
the
be
way, the
amazing.
comment that I just made about the door wasn't referring to the hayloft door. It was referring to the
Yes.
entry door below it.
Right, the wood doors. As far as the wood doors,
On the side, I'm not so concerned. I'm talking about the door that you're gonna put under the
one
open.
facing the alley. Since those are actually both going to be under overhangs, I would feel comfortable with making those wood doors instead of fiberglass. So yeah, I think since that's just two components, we could make that change.
Great. Andrew, you want to have an opportunity, I assume, to sit down with the owners and talk about some of these recommendations, right? And then come back?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're gonna make any changes, we would need to come back anyway.
Well, we've kind of opened the door, no pun intended, to a fair number of considerations, including, for example, resizing the windows where appropriate, et cetera. So there's much ground for your discussion with the owners.
Okay. Yeah. So I will talk to them, but I guess I'm just curious. So if I could toss back the three things that we're going to be discussing, the hayloft openings / doors, finding a way to hold on to that if we can, replacing one, if not both, of the entry doors with wood door as opposed to a fiberglass clad door. And then the third one being the head heights for the windows.
And yes, and the scale of the windows, I think on the side with the hayloft door, it was opened up, I think, by Chip for consideration of considering a larger scale or whatever on that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of goes in tandem with that conversation about.
Good. Okay. The next step that then would be you'd take the opportunity to review all that with the owners as recommendations from the commission and come back.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's really a
you.
terrific,
It's amazing.
a terrific project.
It truly is, Andrew. That's going to look fantastic. So
Thank you. Thank you so
great.
much. Have a good one.
We are at 441 Warren Street. Who's here to speak for 441?
Hi there, I'm Chris Billingham, representing the architect. Good afternoon. I'm the architect for the owners, Madeline Hung, who's also on our call here.
Terrific.
I have been paying attention and will share my screen in a moment, as soon as I can find it. Apologies. Oh, there it is. Everybody see what we have up?
Yes.
So the owners have purchased this property and are in the midst of a renovation. They've converted it to a residential unit. The third floor space requires a second means of egress. Unfortunately, currently unable to get that second means of egress, there is a existing gable roof on the lower roof section, which would block the path of egress from the second or from the third floor space. Our first proposal is to remove this gable roof from this low slope roof area, which would enable a path from the third floor to an egress structure off the back of the house. You can see from, this is the view of that existing gable roof from Cherry Alley. These were taken in December, and also photos of it in the summer where it's a little harder to see. There are a few other alterations we're proposing for the building as well. We would like to add a small office space seating area accessible from the third floor that would extend no further than this wall of the existing gable. There are additionally on this elevation, I'll zoom in here. Additionally, on this elevation, we'd like to change the current asphalt siding to painted pine novelty, which is existing throughout on the lower portion of the rear side of the house. There are also 2 existing window openings on this wall, which at some point in the past were covered over. We'd like to bring windows back, 2 fixed windows, which would provide light into a new bathroom that's going onto this area as well. You can see on our plan, this is the existing gable roof structure, which prevents access or a path of egress from the third floor space. What we're proposing is a new little sitting office space off of the bedroom area, which would then provide access to a pathway and an egress structure off the rear of the house.
Christopher, that hipped roof, is that indicative of an earlier building that was built up and around, or?
This piece here?
Yeah.
We've been unable to find any kind of historical photos from this rear from Cherry Alley. So we would just be speculating at best as to when or why it was done.
I can actually jump in on that quickly. I know that I know that in the original building, when it was used as a photography studio, the roof, gabled roof, there was a form of a gabled roof and it had skylights in it, but the skylights were then later taken out because it was posing a structural issue and leaking throughout the building. So I know that that renovation happened in the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
But the gable and the skylights, when you originally used, you don't mean originally from the first days of the building, you mean a subsequent modification and addition.
Right, but at some point when it was used as a photography studio, and it might have been during the second owner, proprietor of the photography studio. I don't know which proprietor, but I do know that at some point it was used for that. But then again, later modified because of the structural issues it posed. Which is why it's no longer symmetrical, by the way. The gable is no longer symmetrical. Yeah.
Yeah, we could take a look at the rear elevation. So this is on the left, the existing south elevation. It is, as Madeline just pointed out, it is asymmetrical. We're proposing to remove that, add a new space accessible from the third floor, which would provide access. Addition of 2 new windows in an existing or the new bathroom space. The egress structure, which will take us off down the back of the house. At the landing, we will need to add a new egress window at this location, as there's a bedroom here. We're proposing this to be a casement, much like what Andrew just presented, with a simulated check rail, so we can keep the proportions and repetition of the existing double hungs that are there. This window would be a 6/6 light, also wood, which would match the existing. The above windows, the smaller picture fixed windows in the bathroom, they would be 9 light, also wood. And the windows in the sitting room would be also wood, but then we would switch to 2/2. Moving off to the side, there's another little elevation of the existing gable, and what our proposed is. The pathway would require new guardrails for fall protection. We would like to propose a vertical cable style railing system, as it would kind of vanish away and be very unobtrusive. However, we're open to a cedar baluster that would be painted as an alternative as well. The decking for the pathway would be a composite decking board. Additionally, there's some repairs to the existing novelty siding on the lower portion of the rear part of the house, which would be replaced in kind with new novelty, again painted with a matching gray. And up on the third floor space where we would remove the asphalt shingles, and replace with, again, the pine novelty to be painted the same color as well. Just looking through my notes here, I think. Oh, and there's also this location, the eave of the existing portion up here. You can see it's kind of falling apart a bit. We propose replacing this with a new wood eave of the same profile. I think that covers our proposed alterations.
Could I see the view of a photograph of the rear again? The facade, is it exists?
The photograph or the elevation?
First, the photograph, like what does it look like today?
Are these or is this what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's helpful.
That's the small gable piece there.
And then can we see the elevation again. The elevation just strikes me as, I mean, maybe unavoidable, but like it looks extremely busy, right? And like it goes from something very simple to something very busy. That staircase going across like in front of a window strikes me as such, and that little perched office area on the top also, like it looks like it's just dropped there. And I don't mean this in terms of just my aesthetic opinion. That's not what this is. It's just sort of, it's a drastic transformation from what is to what is proposed.
Well, I think part of the problem is that being an elevation where you're not really getting the depth of where elements are placed in their plane. You know, keeping this photo in mind, where the new seating space does not come out this far at all. It's really way back here is the furthest extent of it. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind. Elevations are kind of deceiving.
How many feet is it from the new seating area extension to the edge of the roof? How far back is that?
From this location to the edge of the roof?
Yes, from the addition that you're adding on.
That is roughly 25.5 feet.
Right, so it's very far from the edge.
Yes.
I don't think it would be visible from the street. I do agree with John that it's awfully busy, those stairs, but I don't know what alternative you have. You need a fire exit.
Well, I wonder if I don't know if Craig is still available or not, but this, if this is a required means of egress and that solution is a ladder, I don't know that that's even permitted, is it? Is Craig?
Well, I assume it wouldn't have gotten to us if Craig hadn't approved that.
Chip, he's reviewed all these.
Yeah, it's an approved means of egress as a secondary. There's a lot of things going on in here that they have to do to meet the code requirements for fire egress systems. when you're changing the use of a building like this.
Yeah.
So that's definitely required. And after doing a site view there, and I was there yesterday looking at the back of this, that is actually their only alternative. There's no other option they have to do that, and they even have to sprinkler the third floor. So it's a task.
Is the second means of egress, I'm sorry, I don't really understand the proposed change of use here, but maybe you could talk to us, Craig, a little bit about sprinklering the building. What's the change of use, the third floor issue of occupancy and so forth? If you could give the commission a little summary of that, I think it'd be helpful.
Well, they have a mixed use commercial residential building that's being converted all to residential. The third floor, which at one time was an attic space, whatever the case may be up there, and they're converting that to habitable living space, such as a bedroom. So under the existing building code for residential, you can convert a third floor attic space into habitable space, providing that you have two means of egress, automatic alarm system, and the third floor above grade has to be sprinkled. And then there's some other requirements, and that's if the building was built prior to 1984. And there's like one or two other minor code related things that has to be done. So then it comes into the question of the path of egress for the secondary, such as, like stairs or decks that lead to stairs. Ship ladders is what, there's a term in the code that's used for like ship ladders. It has to be an approvable means of egress based on the building code or the residential code, I'm sorry. And that's really what sums it up.
If the entire building were to be sprinklered, would there still need to be, since it's a single occupancy for the full 3 floors, if the entire building was sprinklered, would it be required to have this exterior second means of egress from the 3rd floor?
I'd have to review that in the code. That's not the proposal, but if I had to guess, yes.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, it doesn't matter what, it's all about the elevation grade above grade level.
Yeah.
So when you get on that 3rd floor and above, your fire egress systems become a lot more complicated. And I mean that by in the way of how are we going to get somebody out of a building safely when it's on fire versus the same way of how are we going to get firefighters in safely to get people out. So that's why these egress systems are designed basically to just do that, get people in and out of a structure in a safe manner of all practicality. Now, what we run into a challenge here in our jurisdiction is 90% of everything we do is renovation on buildings that are, 150 to 250 years old. So it's hard to retrofit a proper means of egress based on if it was brand new. So this is where the existing code allows for certain alterations that come into play to use elements that are available based on what the existing structure is.
Sure.
So it's not always easy just to answer, we sprinkler the whole thing? The code wouldn't require a residential building to be sprinklered. It only is going to require to do the 3rd floor. So if I was to say to them, okay, you sprinkler the whole building, you can eliminate your second means of egress. I can't do that because the code doesn't allow for that.
It's not within your realm of jurisdiction to be able to interpret the code for that specific application. I understand. One other question for you, Craig, is if the 3rd floor is less than 50% of the area of the floor below, so it's a 2.5 story arrangement rather than a 3-story arrangement, does that provide relief for the homeowner from that second means of egress?
To my knowledge, no, because again, it doesn't break it down by how much you have above a third floor level, or I'm sorry, second floor level. It's that it's habitable space, third story above grade.
Okay,
Whether it's a half of a level, because it's still a story that's up there.
yeah.
So then is
Well-
it the full length of the building or half of the building? We're gonna
Thank
look at
you.
it as there's people living up there
Yeah,
that we gotta get them out. So that's, it's relatively a good question that how do they do this? And the code is it's like I said before, it's very complicated with the building code on this stuff because these buildings were never really designed in that fashion when they were originally built. So this is really their only alternative in all practicality.
thank you very much. Sorry to take up the commission time with the technical, but it impacts the visual of this very much, and it also impacts the degree of difficulty of many homeowners. As Craig says, 90% of his applications, of the applications before us, are for adaptive reuse or reuse of an existing building, and it's very difficult.
You know, Chip, if the commission don't mind, I will add that this type of proposal, what I'm looking at the south elevation right now on my computer. There is, you know, off the top of my head, quite a few of these same type of structures throughout the city on these type of buildings. And I do know I want to say the 600 block, there's a couple structures that have almost the same identical proposal. So it's not uncommon, but they were probably done prior to the resolution of the commission. So, you know, maybe, I don't know if that'll help the commission or help property owners to compare for compatibility issues, but it's not the first time we've seen this. Thanks.
Any other questions or thoughts to share with the applicant? Not so much.
No.
No, Paul, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Could we be so bold as to ask for a motion to find the application complete? I didn't hear that. Yes?
Yes.
Thanks very much. You in a second, please.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to waive a public hearing and ask the city attorney to prepare a certificate of appropriateness?
I'll leave it.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll
Second. Oh,
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Approved. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you,
very
guys.
much, everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Couple items. You know, we've got a public hearing on the Depot District in 2 weeks. The probability is John has kindly agreed to chair that meeting. I've surgery a couple days before and may or may not be mobile. Our next meeting will be an in-person meeting, as we discussed up front. And Victoria explained that that's through New York State. And
Is it definite?
according to the city, it is definite
Okay.
that
Wait, that's
that
gotta be in
commission
person?
is required to go to in person.
When is that?
Well, the governor.
25th. Sorry, Victoria.
I was gonna say, as far as I know, we don't know if the governor was gonna extend it or not, but you're welcome to meet in person regardless.
I only know what the city told me. I did speak to the mayor's office. I talked to Tracy and the folks who manage everything downstairs, and that's what I was told.
Okay, so we'll plan on meeting in person.
Hi, excuse me?
Yes.
Domenico, sorry, I missed the first 10 minutes of the meeting and my property was up, and I was wondering if it would be possible to review the application. for 522 Union Street.
It is. You weren't here during the initial part of the meeting?
Yes, I apologize. I'm new to this and I missed, but Craig sent me an email to let me know to join. So I missed the first 20 minutes.
Okay. While we're here, let's do it. I know folks are going to try to have a hard stop shortly, but let's see if we can do it.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the time. I'll share my screen.
Okay. Chris, okay, I see where we are. 522 and your screen is up. Chris, I believe you're muted. Better.
We can't hear you still, though.
Sorry, Chris, you're still muted for some reason.
Tell you what, Chris, if you want to flip through it, I'll explain it. All right. We've got aluminum siding on the back of the building. Chris, could you skip to the next page? All right. We're going to take that window and center it under the peak of the roof, remove that air conditioning unit. We're going to extend the metal roof for the entry covering, and we're going to add a window where you see that arrow. Next slide. So that's the proposed new elevation. As you can see, there's two double hung windows. The roof got extended a little bit, and we've got a new window to the left of the door on the first floor. Next slide. Okay. New windows, going to be wood, painted. New door, in swing, French door, bare pine, painted. And we're going to replace and extend the metal roof with another metal roof. Next slide. At the end of that, Chris? All right. So when we do that, we're going to have to remove the aluminum siding from the back of the building because it just, you can't splice it back in. And we're going to put an 8-inch Hardie bevel siding back. That's the end of the application.
Can we go back to the elevation, please?
Sure.
Can you explain it looks almost like a dormer on the roof of the rear addition? I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. There are several roof lines. Can we see the photo?
The only thing that we're changing about what we have there is that lower shed roof is getting extended to the left a few feet.
And what about the awning that's over the door now? Will there be an awning?
That's going to leave.
So the wall will be the same as it is now, but the roof will be extended, and under the extended roof will be the doorway. Is that right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Folks, any other questions or comments?
I mean, this changes seem very modest and appropriate.
Agree.
I'd vote to find it complete.
We have a motion to find the application complete. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you very much, Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We vote to ask the city attorney to prepare a C of A. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. In a second, Paul,
I'll
thank
second.
you. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None? Great.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.
Certified local government. I'll keep you guys just for one more minute. I'm sorry, Jeremy, I couldn't hook up with the proposed times. I did send you a note.
Yep. I was
Uh,
gonna see how much time I have to, I have a hard stop at 1, but if you, me and Paul want to hang on till then, we can certainly chat about it.
I think we can, if that's it, I have no additional, further business then for the commission. Folks,
Mr. Chairman, my hand is raised.
Ronald, it's a pleasure. What do you got?
Okay, just very quickly on this question of the end of virtual meetings. I think the commission should look very closely at the possibility of doing so-called hybrid meetings, namely virtual and in-person attendance. And
Ronald, I'm way ahead of you.
okay,
I've already made a query to the city to see if we can do that, because for one thing, it'll help me tremendously. Yeah.
So it's especially with this important public hearing coming up on the 25th, the city has this device called the OWL, which the council has been using, and I understood the council is going to continue using it regardless of what the governor does.
Okay.
To enable hybrid meetings. So thank you very much on that.
Thanks, Ronald. I
I would
agree.
go further. I think that the idea of not having a remote meeting is antiquated, and I think if there's an opportunity to contact the governor, we ought to.
Okay. I agree. Then I think we can proceed with the motion to adjourn, and a couple of us are going to stay on. Is that right? And talk about certified local government, which
Yes.
is Phil, Jeremy, and Paul. Motion to adjourn our meeting.
Make that motion.
Paul, thank you. In a second.
Second.
Jeremy, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See you later.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm the host of this meeting right now. So I will have to stay in for the conversation, but would you like me to have this be a meeting just of the commission and remove the other participants?
Please,
Yes,
just
that'd be
for
great.
the three folks who are on our little committee to pursue certified local. Terrific. Thank you so much, Rebecca, and for
Thanks,
hanging
Rebecca.
in. So Jeremy, you want to go ahead?
So Paul and I met, I guess it was several weeks ago now, right, Paul?
Yes, it was. I apologize. I've been away and back and
Okay.
yeah.
And so we sat down, and we basically sat down with the different criteria that Paul was actually able to find, which was great. And we started looking at things specifically, and we thought that it might be good to have that person come back and give a presentation to the commission just to understand the responsibilities, because there were some areas in here that seemed like they were going to be massive lifts for us to maintain. Everything from including
Administrative work, yeah.
a huge
Jeremy,
amount of-
they already have 90% of the information that's part of the query. In other words, they had wanted chapter 169 in all of its excruciating detail, all of the maps and house locations and so on. So, and the opportunity, obviously, to attend a meeting. We've been literally screwing around with this for years, and probably could have gotten the certification 4 years ago. We hesitated at the time because they indicated that there were some modifications to 169 that they wanted. And it was our judgment, for better or worse, that we had a hostile city council at that time, and were not interested in exposing them to 169. It's in dim memories, except for a few of us. But there was a point when we had a council who, if they could have, would have shut down HPC. So it created a little hesitancy, but the person I mentioned, Linda, is very aware of Hudson. These guys are down to Hudson quite frequently. I really think step one is a phone call saying, what do you have? What do you need to fill in? Do you want to come down, and so on? Because it is a bureaucratic process, but it's also very much a relationship process.
Yeah, Phil, I don't think either of us have any doubt that we could not in fact become certified pretty quickly. Where Jeremy and I are coming is it's once you're certified, work comes from that. Like the commission will be required to, I mean, there's reporting and auditing. And
I see.
so that's really where we're at. Like before we go and get, certainly we can have them come down and, you know, present to us once again. We can gather the missing pieces, but it's just once we get certified, we don't want to end up with egg on our face like a year or two now where we're not fulfilling. You know, I mean, our commission, Jeremy and I have discussed this. We meet, twice a month and people come in and we do our things and disband. It will be then, assignments to committee members to do things, to keep the maintenance.
And also there's a technology component too. One of the criteria is basically looking at our remit, all of the different properties that fall within our, our purview, and keeping track of every change, an auditable track of every change. And so that means we need to be more proactive in the way that we're looking at houses and spaces that are in our purview. How are we keeping records of that? When they say auditable, what does that look like? I just feel like there's lots of infrastructure things we don't necessarily have in place to be doing that level of detail.
So, why don't we take it back then as, make a phone call and see if we, can set it up where they come back and present to us again. But I think we're going to be looking at this with our eyes a little bit more wide open to maybe pursue what comes after we're certified. Not so much the benefits of what we'll be privy to, but what the work is going to look like. Because
it sounds like we need to include in the itinerary going forward some private time with Linda and her team for the three of us to really drill down on the requirements on our side.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, a public meeting on benefits and stuff would be good. I totally get what you're saying.
Okay.
The flip side of it too is, let's say we do get certified and we start to go for grants and things. That's a lot of responsibility. And if I look at the way we operate today, I don't think we're operating, you don't have people running grants or staying on top of those things. And if we did, we may want to think about different types of commission members, people who are kind of recognize the level of effort with that, or setting expectations with the group that says, this is more than just coming and showing up for the meetings. This is going to be some serious work. If you're part of these grants, there's, it's time and dedication outside of the meetings in a serious way.
I had understood, probably wrongly, that there were different types of grants and that the onus was not necessarily on us to do the grant writing. It could be whomever the beneficiary of that grant was going to be.
Well, yes, and that too, but I still think that would fall under the auspices of HPC. Again, if there was a grant recipient who didn't fulfill whatever. Again, we don't ever want it to come back and reflect poorly on the city or us. So that's why I really think we have to understand what we're getting ourselves into, more than just, hello, Paula, more than this. More than
you brought me coffee.
Hey, could you refill mine, please?
We can do that virtually.
More than having this wonderful credential and this certificate hung on the wall, it's really better understanding, one, what's in it for us, and two, what work is in it for us.
How do you want to sequence this? Because I'm in well positioned to give Linda a call. I've talked to her before. More to the point, I'll do whatever you guys say, frankly. How do you want me to do?
Jeremy, your schedule during like the week, is there any days or times that's just absolutely not good for you, that you're committed to something, or is it?
As long as I have foresight, I can clear my calendar. But like my week next week, I think I have an hour and a half free for the whole week in my work schedule. So if my schedule gets really crazy, but if we book it a couple weeks in advance, I can make stuff work.
And that's probably good, because I think, Phil, our next couple of meetings are going to be action-packed with the public hearing and anything, anyway, so.
And I may be lying around like a flounder after the surgery. I don't know. So.
We're hoping not.
Okay. To complete the metaphor, if you'd come by 32 Warren, throw a bucket of water on me, so I stay moist during the healing.
On committees like this, Phil, and commissions, we'll come and find you. No matter where you are. There's no getting away. All right. So Phil, do you want to do a call to Linda? Is that?
I thought it would be easy, but you know her too, right?
Yes, I do.
Oh, then no, Phil.
All right, no, fine.
Remove Phil.
I'm happy to call her. I just wanted to be sure. So now, Jeremy, so
I can send you time. I can send you some times if you want. Like I give you 3 times that work for me.
Well, no, so it's really 2 things. One, we want to set up a powwow with Linda. And then we're also going to want her team to come and to present to the commission. But we think the first thing is we should really have a meeting with her to really get to the, to revisit. Okay.
Agreed. Yeah. And it could be Zoom actually at this point, just to get the information right.
Sure.
True, too.
Yeah, let's just do Zoom.
All right. So I'm happy to reach out and do that. Okay.
That would be fantastic, Paul, and thank you for you guys taking this on.
Righty.
I had never thought through of course, I never do, what the implications are for us of taking this on. I'd never even looked at it.
Yeah. And,
I was also, sorry, go ahead.
No,
I was just going to say, I wanted to propose too for the spring, based on where we are with COVID, that we should all get together. Maybe I'll host something at my house. John was saying he'd do something in his or mine, and we figure getting us all together would be nice.
Oh, that'd be terrific. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
I enjoy all refreshments, but
especially alcoholic ones.
If we do such a thing, gin and tonic, cider, all good. Yes, of course. Of course. What a great idea.
That sounds a lot of fun.
People would love that. We never get to actually talk as human beings. We're on-screen automatons. How cool that would be.
Yes. So, and just for both of you to observe, on North 5th Street, there's some brick townhouses. And one had been finished off with a mansard roof that sets it apart from the others. And someone has built a deck on top of that.
Ooh.
Just an FYI, if you just want to do a drive-by and an observation. It's the owners, Phil, Christine Bakey lives on the one at the corner of Columbia.
Yeah.
And then the 2 in the middle are now owned by the gentleman who is redoing the chocolate factory. He's also restoring those 2 townhouses. The one next to him, which was John Farley's, that has the mansard addition. And it seems someone has put like a pressure treated wood deck platform up on top of that.
Next to swimming pool and a cabana.
Yeah, well, as long as I'm invited, then it's fine. I'll look the other way.
I'll go take a look. Thank you.
All righty, guys. Thank you so much. I'll let you know what Linda says.
Thank you.
A pleasure. Thank you all so much. And Rebecca, thank you for hanging in and for your brilliant minutes.
Oh,
Thank you,
yes.
Rebecca.
Rebecca, you're definitely coming to the party when we have it as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.